Yay. Oh. I need to be bigger than that. Yeah? There we go. Yeah, there we are. Ah, hello everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Tea with G. It's good to be back with you all. I apologize for the late start, quite late actually. Um, this morning I doing my normal meditations and contemplations. There was a quote from Nisargadatta that caught my attention, and since I heard it about 2 hours ago, it has unfolded in my life just as just as he said it. And the quote was simply this: "Nothing can happen unless the entire universe makes it happen." That is really something to ponder, isn't it? Let me see if I can fix the sound here. Alrighty. Are we getting better sound now? Oh, I'm glad you like the music. How is the sound now? Sound is good. Oh, it was you. Well, I did switch it to another set of stuff that I have that to help reduce background noise and stuff like that. In fact, I'm going to turn this heater off. I was actually in an entirely different location, and all set up, ready to go, and no sound at all. I couldn't get any sound using the the connection for the basic connection on the Mac, right? I had the nice headphones, nice mic, good stuff. Nothing. So I had to come back here where I wasn't so prepared for it, which is why it took so much longer to set things up and get another audio interface. Fortunately, it would receive audio from that audio interface. But as I said, nothing happens unless the whole universe makes it happen. The person, the sense of a separate self, the ego, right, sees itself as the cause and effect of all things. This notion became huge with the movie The Secret and the law of attraction and all that, that the genie of the universe, that the universe was going to bend to my will. That is just the height of human arrogance, and does something that is very destructive. Namely, it enhances and amplifies the sense of a personal identity and the ego. And if there's any success in that, where that stuff seems to work, it just gets even more entrenched to the point where it's a very deep spiritual blindness and a total misunderstanding of what spirituality is all about. The freedom that we all seek is not a freedom for the ego. It's a freedom from the ego. Because everything that is happening is just happening. It is just the unfathomable intricacy and complexity and interrelationships between all things. The universe is a single functioning consciousness. Even what we call matter, which is the objects that we perceive, is not matter. It does not exist. That is a concept projected on consciousness. What we call matter is, in fact, consciousness. It is the functioning of consciousness. And everything perceived and not perceived is within this consciousness. The struggle on the spiritual path, at least the ultimate spiritual path, the struggle is not so much coming to grasp or understand the non-dual ideas. They're actually a little bit of curiosity and intellectual honesty, and it's quite easy to grasp. But the deeper practice of actually embodying that, which means always choosing the sense of being over the personal sense of a self. I started this morning when I realized it's not working, and it's like, 15 minutes before I'm supposed to start, and I couldn't make anything work. There suddenly was this feeling, oh my God, what's going on? Just nothing happens unless the universe, the entire totality of this one function, makes it so. I recognized that I didn't do it. In fact, I've done absolutely nothing my entire life. Nor have you. It's a funny thing to think about. A great analogy I heard is the circus clown. The acrobats perform in the circus, right? Just defying feats. Right? Something without a net even, right? They finish, the crowd jumps to its feet. Standing ovation. And the circus clowns run out and start taking a bow. That is the ego. Taking credit for what it never did, but it believes it. Right? An event happens. There's a cognition of the event, which can trigger off thoughts about the event, and somewhere downstream, very quickly, comes the thought, I did that. If I was to do something like that in slow motion, it would be something like this. I'm going to raise my hand. That's how it works. Everything is happening on its own. Just the intricacy of the functioning of the entire universe. And the universe is a single function of consciousness. The universe has a certain character, certain qualities and characteristics, and everything within that is coming from that and manifesting the character of the whole. This practice, this sadhana, this contemplation, is to recognize that you, the perceiver of it all, is not something in that universe, but that you are the consciousness in which it has arisen. It is functioning of consciousness, and that's your consciousness, or more accurately put, you are consciousness. When we think of consciousness in its pure essence, you have pure awareness. Simple being, without being anything in particular. When you turn in the other direction and you see the manifest universe, the beauty of it, the vastness of it, the intricacy, from the tiniest, from the micro to the macro. That is consciousness as the dynamic manifestation of being. In a sense, you could say you are both. But the fact is, you cannot separate the universe from the consciousness that is not just perceiving it, because it's not other, it is its source. The sense of being a person clouds that whole picture. It makes the universe something other than me. And I'm just this shivering little character in the middle of this unfathomable universe, fighting over stuff and trying to make myself better than others and trying to be somebody. Because there's this inherent sense of lack. Yeah. The fear of lack. So, I think there's more to say about this, but I'm going to solicit some questions now from everybody and bring them up. I prefer to have them early. Oh, yes. I just noticed that. I think I have it here somewhere. I could put it up on the screen. Banners. Almost. Hold on a second. Is it that? No, I don't have that one up there. I was actually going to create one just for questions coming from here. But the universe had other plans. So let's just do this. Send it to, yeah, I get it. I'm the only one that reads that. So where are we here? Save and show. Okay, there it is. Very simple. admin@gpwalsh.com for anybody who wants to send something to me. I will be creating some other email addresses. I just moved all the technology out of where it was because it was very, very crazy. Too much to manage, and I even hired somebody to do it, so I didn't have to. There are others who have a much better relationship with the technology gods than I. So, again, let me solicit questions because I have found just over the last 6 months or so, my interest is more about meeting the needs of the individual on this path, rather than just expounding discourse on something or other. Unless it comes out of some direct experience I'm having that just illustrates it beautifully, like this morning. Oh, I know what I'm going to add. While you're all coming up with questions, there's a very interesting part of the Bible, the New Testament, with Christ and Pontius Pilate, which, by the way, scholars, it probably didn't really happen. It was nothing like that. A lot of these stories were either just made up, or they were embellished over 2,000 years, right? Switched, changed, reinterpreted, renegotiated, embellished. So to the point where it's hard to tell the difference between legend and myth and the actual individual, which there's enough evidence that he did exist. There was such a character. The story of him, the famous story of you are without sin, cast the first stone, completely made up and put in later. But a beautiful, beautiful illustration. I think whoever came up with that and it spread around and ended up in Scripture did in fact capture the spirit and the heart of Christ. This and the wisdom as well. Another one that is fictitious, but useful, because it was the meeting with Pontius Pilate before he was crucified, which would never have happened to somebody who was just regarded as a criminal, somebody who was regarded as just, a disturbing of the peace, people calling him King of the Jews, and they're like, no, we're not going to have that. But at any rate, the words that Jesus spoke probably did come in some other form from him. Enough preamble. What's the story, G? The story is he's brought to Pontius Pilate, who's interrogating a lot of stuff. And one of the things he says, I am here to bear witness to the truth. And he says, what is truth? And Jesus doesn't answer. He says to him, I have the power to either crucify you or set you free. And his response was, you would have no power over me at all were it not given to you by my Father in heaven. That's saying exactly the same thing that Nisargadatta said. Nothing happens unless the entire universe makes it happen, and the universe is obeying what we could call the will of consciousness, or the will of God. Now, I invite you to look back to your whole life, all the things you either took the credit for or the blame, thinking that I did that. You didn't. That was the circus clown taking credit for what was the flow of events that the personal sense of self claims as my life. And from that place of the personal sense, the person, projecting onto events a sense of self, autonomously, agency, just self-validating, self-referential, but deeply wounded, deeply lacking, grabbing for this and that. It creates the illusion of a life that is mine, when in fact, what has it been? We didn't create the invention, or invent this body. Hopefully the software I have will filter out the reason I don't want to do the live streams here is because where the furnace for the whole house is right there, and it sounds like a jet when it takes off. But I think I've got enough of the noise reduction stuff on that it's going to work. Anyway, where was I? Starting with birth. Your mother and father had a night, maybe an afternoon, in the backseat of a car. Fun. They had some fun. I hope it was fun, for crying out loud. And so many things came into play in order for the body you are perceiving through made it the way it is. If your father had the tofu salad for dinner instead of the steak, you might have been the other gender. You might have been 6 feet, instead of 5-7, 5-6, 5-6. I got a 6 in there somewhere. You could have had a genius IQ or just been average, or even a little dumb. You had no control over any of it. Neither did they. If they had their fun 10 minutes later or half hour earlier, all different. What is it that brings about a particular set of events? Well, it's not a person. The person comes later. There's no person in the fetus. It's just it's just chemicals and hormone, all sorts of stuff going on in there. Whatever it is, I don't know. Combining, recombining, all sorts of things are added in there. There's literally tens or hundreds of billions of little spermy things going. One wins the race and is it's not but many that get there, it's the egg itself that decides you get in, runs the show. None of this is conscious. Nobody's controlling it. Nobody has anything to do with it. But it's not random. It's just, as it's thought, it's not random at all. It'll be many years before there is a sense of self there, right? The sense I am, the awareness that I am, the first awareness, of which you are not self-aware yet. It's just there's awareness. I actually remember I was living with my son, as I am now actually, and it was shortly after his first daughter was born. I was a nanny. I was taking care of her all the time to school. It was when she finally went to preschool, and she must have been about 1 or so. And talked to her and stuff, but she was just pure baby, right? Somewhere around there, I went somewhere, getting her out of the back seat, the kid seat in the back. I pick her up and I bring her and I look in her eyes, and suddenly somebody was looking back. It was, and we both saw it. It was like this ding. Before there was just baby. Suddenly it was like, I was like, holy shit. Because I'd never seen that. But I realized something there, like, woke up a bit. Right? Since then, she's asked a lot of questions, and very proud grandpa, right? Because he's curious, talking about deaths and that sort of thing, because my brother just died, and explaining that all to her and the like. So where was I going with this? Right. So you see, this whole chain of events is happening, including the arising of a sense of self, programming and conditioning that is experienced, none of which you had anything to do with. And then at some point what arises is the I thought. I am, which is a true statement, but and was true before the I thought was there. Because dogs, animals, mosquitoes, plants have that, but not the capacity to know it. Not a thinking mind that can say I am. But when it says I am, it says I am the body. And in that moment, what in fact is just undifferentiated consciousness becomes a sense of self confined to these sensations, perceptions, and the body actually comes into existence. Because the body doesn't exist separate from your perception of it. Where am I going? I'm just really going off here. I hope you're enjoying this. Because I'm finding I get somebody please flip the switch and back. I'm kind of meandering all over the place too. Anyway, the point is this. Every single event in your life has just happened just the way conception happened, growth, gestation happened, the birth happened, development happened, self-awareness happened, the I am happened, and with it the creation of the universe as an entity separate from me. And for a small number of us, including those of you who are here now, the final stage starts, which is I am, and I know I am, and I'm aware of the I thought and this whole experience and conditioning. I'm aware of the person, the egoic mind. And I'm something else. This is your destiny. And again, like everything else, you didn't do it. That's why I refer to it, and it should be referred to as grace. Nobody did any of this. But you are. So the only place to go, the only reference point, the only thing you can grasp and hold on to that isn't just something happening, coming and going, flow, 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 is the sense I am. The sense I am prior to the thought I am. Right? Before the thought can be there, you must be. And can you notice? You can do it right now. Just withdraw your attention for a moment. Notice all the thoughts, that there's something watching those thoughts, namely you. And even I am this or that, or the I am, is being perceived by you. And it doesn't require the thought I am to be, does it? This is a direct seeing of you in your original state, the original face, as the Buddha as Buddhists put it. And the koan, what did you look like before your parents were born? That sense I am, prior to the I am thought, memory, anything, pure I am, is the doorway back to the absolute, back to the infinite. Because it can't be described. It doesn't need words. It doesn't need a name, even. I just am. Even the words I just am are being watched by this absolute quiet, the real you. Okay. Well, we got some questions coming in here that'll whet my appetite. Well, Rosario, thank you for being back with us all. Thank you for being here. Okay? Elena, David, so good to see you. There's Jill. There's me going, I'll be here. I swear I'll be here. There's Mary. Hello, Mary and Megan. Megan and Mary liked the music. Thank you. I lost the whole channel before fixing some things in YouTube, trying to avoid being deplatformed because I had the same video in two different places, which is I found is against the rules. So I had to move a bunch of stuff around, and my whole music channel just got deleted. So I'm starting to put some things back up there. I've had music I've written hanging around for such a long time. I figured, why don't I just put it up there? Maybe somebody would like it. And so I will. Now the sound is great. You know, it took me a long time to get the good sound. In fact, I spent, when I got so frustrated with it all, I spent 2 hours doing nothing but experimenting and plugging things in, little software patches and the like, and I came up with a couple of inexpensive audio applications that allow me to do what I need to do and get a good sound even when it's really noisy in the back. To use a good mic instead of a cheap stuff I was using. Anyway, so and there's Nay, my one of my $1,000. All parts welcome. Yeah, okay, you got the email. Let me take that off the screen now. Don't need it anymore. All right. So let's see what we got going on. Arlene and David. Gee, can you speak about the importance of deep shadow work in the process of self-realization, even after an awakening? Yes. Well, you know, just the fact that there's a recognition that there's a lot of crap going on, a lot of untouched wounds, a lot of self-hatred and self-denial. It takes a awakening to even know that it's there. So before any kind of awakening takes place, my conditioning and myself are one and the same. I am embodying the conditioning while the truth of me, even the truth of this human form, is just buried away somewhere, not able to come forth. I do a deep dive into this in the level 2 of my emotional healing classes to show how the conditioning actually produces a sense of self, a false persona to present to the world in order for it to conform to the world and get its needs met. And then we forget that that's not actually who we are. It was an invention. It was completely imaginary. We forget that. Nonetheless, we are so cut off from the reality of us, who we really are, that it doesn't get questioned. And if you look around our society, and the way the world is going, it is because of all these unquestioned assumptions. The ego, which is the ego. And ego doesn't mean, hey, great I am. It just means I'm a separate self. You can have a spiritual ego. You can have a very humble ego. You can have an ego that's the victim. All of these characters, right? Again, you didn't make them. It was simply the human mechanism adapting to the environment, taking on whatever shape it needed to survive in that environment. And then it got so fixed in that place, that's the trauma, frozen into that space, that even when things changed, the perception of it didn't. And so we walk through a world that never existed and isn't existing now. And it's the first signs of awakening that we become aware of that. And at first it shows up like self-help, self-improvement, which was not even a thing all that long ago, The idea of when I was younger, really up until, I don't know, the 80s? Yeah, the early 80s, very late 70s. You go into a bookstore, right? Bookstores, actual books. There was no self-help at all. there was a one shelf, some psychology books, which were just, unreadable. And I think there was like Think and Grow Rich. There was a couple things that were more about motivation and stuff like that. And that was it. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Self-help. Now, most of it is nonsense. It all emphasizes the personal ego in some way. But it's nothing that approaches what we're talking about right now. But it's a species, a symptom of awakening, because wasn't that long ago, this wasn't even conceived of. When I went to high school, we had to take a psychology class, right? And they talked about Pavlov's dog and classical conditioning, and I thought, oh, how interesting. I didn't think anything of it, and I certainly didn't think it applied to me. I'm a free moral agent. I can do whatever I want, which is, at that point, it was just get stoned all the time, or some other thing to have altered state of consciousness and then become miserable. But the awareness of it, and as I developed, that is, as grace developed me, coming to the point where you decide to consciously participate in this process, which is a big step, and then eventually finding a teacher that you can really surrender to and trust, and they won't mislead you, along that path that I didn't do, and it's quite clear I didn't do it, because whenever I did try to do something, it was a mess. It became aware. I became aware as more and more non-dual information began to appear on the scene, right? Especially with YouTube. And when I was young, I never heard the words awakening, enlightenment, yoga, sadhana, practice, meditation. What the hell was that? What the hell was that? I never heard of any of that stuff. Now, geez, you can't swing a cat without hitting a yoga studio, right? I don't know where that phrase came from. Swinging a cat, I guess people did that at one time. So at any rate, I began now really having looked at all of it, taken up all sorts of different practices and the like, and coming into my own deeper understanding of what non-duality actually was. I saw so many people misunderstanding non-duality and using it as just another way to bury the feelings, suppress the wounds, try to like explain them away. Oh, it's all an illusion, right? And yes and no. Yes, it is, but no, that's not enough. And so I earnestly set about to do emotional healing with my eye on the future of making a space where the true contemplation of non-dual reality can happen in earnest and without trying to put it to some other purpose. I had a bunch of different methods. I developed a method called inner reconciliation. As I saw, it was all about not being safe and not feeling loved or lovable and self-dismissal. But that self, what I knew was that self that was unlovable was not who they were, but they thought it was. And so finding a way to help people recognize I am not my conditioning, but how deeply that is embedded in us, so that it's kind of the default position. I saw I could get, through emotional healing, people to the point where the non-dual teaching could be understood on as it actually is, and not distorted by the context of what we think it is. We try to make it fit. Jesus said you can't put new wine in old wineskins. It'll smell like ass. You have to, it is a completely different context. It's a completely different model of the universe, of everything, of life, of being itself. It's not based on the subject-object relationship. It is based on you knowing you, but not as one thing knowing another. And I ended up, I had 120 courses on my e-learning platform at one time. It's now down to 2. Cut it way back. I don't sell any of the others anymore. I don't deal with them anymore. Every now and then I'll do a one-off program, but for the most part, emotional healing, non-dual self-inquiry. That's it. And building a bridge between the two. And I've had students who were just had a hard time coming to terms with the experienced trauma, childhood abuse and PTSD and all of that kind of stuff. And we're using non-dual ideas to form a non-dual identity. But little by little, I kind of forced them to go back and do emotional healing, which then began to open up the possibility that this truth, which we intuitively get that it's true, but are thinking about it, not getting it down here, suddenly it became easier to do. And so the far afield, sorry, I just wandering off all places, sorts of places today. Everything seems like it has to be a backstory. I got to take everything back to the Big Bang to explain everything. But anyway, when you talk about the shadow work, right? Again, shadow work, people. Now it becomes a buzzword, right? Yeah, I'm doing shadow work. What does that mean? What it means is that because of just the way life works, the emergence of a finite sense of self based on the I am, the body, right? There's all sorts of stuff, an enormous amount of potential within every human being, that because that potential is not accepted in the environment in which it grows up, all that potential gets reduced down to this. It's all still there. And the whole purpose of human life is it's twofold. It is to give expression to who you ultimately are. That is, this human life is the manifestation of the one self. And on the spiritual path, its purpose is to come to see this, accept it, practice it, and transcend the deepest of the disconnects that are even deeper than any particular human life. They're called the vasanas, and they're the deepest sense of being a separate self. That sense of that very impalpable, undetectable impulse to identify is there in every life you've ever had. And when you are fortunate enough to come and have done enough work over time, because nobody gets there without doing this, right? The greatest sage that ever walked the planet went through exactly what you're going through. Buddha did. Everybody. Christ did. Everybody. Ramana. Everybody. Right? There's no coupon for this. There's no discounts. There's no blue light specials. For those of you that might remember what that is. And so when you can see it in those terms, you can see that even the childhood experience, the traumas, the compression of us into this little bubble had a prior cause. Those are the vasanas. And that prior cause, when you become aware of that, you're entering the final stage. Because now you're aware of the absolutely invisible and silent influences that are shaping everything else, of which even our childhood, our birth, every experience we had is emerging from that. And we don't know that when we're identified with the form. We're just identified. But as you grow spiritually, sincerely, and earnestly, you begin to see the influences that cannot be seen. The word in Sanskrit is Maya, the great illusion. And it is a sense of identifying with a form. And the only way you can detect it is that through grace, your vision becomes subtler and subtler and subtler. And so I got off. So shadow, right? Get back to the shadows. Those shadows are all the disowned parts of us. It's all the parts that we don't have any access to, but there's all sorts of energy going on here that we've become constricted into this little tiny place. And that shows up as influences. Where did that come from? Why did I think that? Why did that happen to me? Those are the shadow influences. We call them shadows because you can't see them. They're in the dark. Call it the unconscious mind. Some people say, oh, they're entities, other spirits, malicious spirits and things like that. None of it. It is me. The sense of a personal self is cut off from everything that doesn't fit in the image of that personal self. And it's not just the shadow, right? Or the unprocessed traumas, or whatever you want to call it. It feels like, because they've been disowned, and they had to be, right? They became dark enemies. In fact, they're not. It's a disowned sense of self. It's a disowned aspect of you. God is a shadow. The absolute truth is a shadow. It's a disowned part of you. The universe is a disowned part of you. You are the universe. The whole damn thing emanates from you. You are the still point at the center. You are the black hole at the center of a galaxy. Cannot be seen or detected, yet it holds everything together. That's you. Oh, I did wander around on that. Hopefully, David, Elaine, you didn't. You guys want to meet my new best friend? This is Saturn. Say hello. He's the most skittish one that lives here, and boy, he wouldn't even come near me for the longest time. All of a sudden, he started coming, and now he just comes in and visits me whenever he feels like it. He just lays here with me, or hop up on the windowsill up there and look out the window. Now he's my new best friend. Okay, so let me check with you guys. See how was that one? Thank you for your answer about the shadow. I needed to hear this. David, any for your question? Saturn. Yeah, that's Saturn. When my kids were growing up, we named all of our pets after mountains. So we had McKinley and Rainier and Everest. Yes. Didn't use K2. That's too uninteresting. And my son is the heavenly bodies, mostly planets. So he has Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, and Luna. Okay, let's see. Mary, Today I was feeling gratitude, but I realized there's no one outside to be grateful to. So I said, thank you to the knowing that I am aware and awareness itself. Isn't that amazing? Because we think, I got to be grateful about something, but that's just like, I'm just grateful. I exist. Jesus H. Christ. I exist. Just become awestruck at the fact of existence and that I know I exist. That is the mystery. Science with it, which is good, just working the wrong model. It tries to explain it in terms of processes and stuff. That's why the AI bros are convinced they're going to create consciousness. One guy, Bernardo Kastrup, called that womb envy, because they're all men for the most part. Damn it, we're going to take over that last territory. Take it from women. Oh, goodness. Anyway, yeah, you can just feel grateful for absolutely no reason. Feel love. Feel happy for no reason whatsoever. You can be love without an object. Isn't that something? I am aware. I am aware. And eventually that awareness, I merge with that awareness. The sense of I comes out of I am this or that. I am the body. I am awareness. It's all there is. And that awareness is aware even of that. That's even one step. It's the firstborn. It's the I am we know of as the God of the universe. Prior to I am, before even the sense I am could arise, you had to be. Pure being, pure knowing, without knowing anything. That's the absolute, where being and knowing are one. I know that I am becomes I am that. This is the practice. This is the truth. It's been there the whole time. And because it's the truth, it's never changed. It's never vacillated. And its appearance to this particular level of consciousness is what we call grace. Where you are losing. You can't lose the truth. You can't be anything other than what you are. We misinterpret it. The false sense of self creates an imaginary self that doesn't actually exist, but draws any existence whatsoever from that which actually is. So this practice, the sadhana, is not trying to be. It is recognizing all that you have identified that's not you, including the sense I am. That's the practice. Just seeing lifetime after lifetime of identification with form. And little by little you begin to discern the subtlest of the subtle, which is the impulse to identify as form, to make something, put something in between the self and the form, that is the universe, because they're not two. When you look at anything, you are seeing the self. As the Sufis say, wherever the eye lands, it sees the face of God. Look in the mirror, you're seeing God. It was Rumi who said, I went looking for myself, and I found God. I went looking for God, and I found myself. The sense of me and other simply dissolves. It's not true. There is no separation. There's no water there in the desert. It's a mirage. It's just an illusion, the great illusion of Maya. You are that. a different form. Same consciousness, different form. That's it. If you were in a cat body, the sense, I am the body, would be there. Wouldn't be able to conceive of it or look at it. But you would be a cat. Cat feelings and cat thoughts, cat noises. That would be sum total of your existence. But you have been blessed with a human birth, many of them. And in the human birth, this one unique capacity is there. And that is to be aware of being aware, conscious of being conscious. How do you do that? How is it possible that you can do that? You must be something beyond even consciousness. Otherwise you couldn't see it. You're looking at it from the absolute. And at this stage of the sadhana, it is a simple unmixing. Putting your life in a centrifuge. That's, everything that isn't you is just being, or the fire of grace. Times, seeing my own teacher, I was expecting a nice warm welcome, and instead I got a blowtorch. And he said, please, refuel. Don't turn off. Don't turn down the blowtorch. Turn it up all the way high. Put it on 11. Burn it all the way. And it feels terrible because of our identification with the person. Holding on to it all the while, it's causing suffering, and grace is trying to pull it off. No, can't I bring it with? Nope. Nope, can't do it. Anyway, Mary, yes. As Papaji said, it takes nothing to be happy. It takes a lot of work to be miserable. Same thing with gratitude. In fact, there was a video Muji made several years ago. It was just 5 minutes up in the morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for to whom? Doesn't matter. Thank you for what? Doesn't matter. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. But you can be. It's like, I am aware. I am the great mystery. Oh, okay. Christina's telling me you can't hear the furnace. So loud in here. Finally found a solution. Unless the tech guys change their minds. Mary said, I'm so sorry about your brother. But happy. Thank you. Thank you. It was unexpected. He got a diagnosis about 6 months ago. They put him, liver cancer, and they put him on a course of chemotherapy, not the heavy-duty, intrusive ones. They've developed, they're not as horrible as they used to be. And it seemed like everything was going well, at least my brother was putting a happy face on it. And then just 3 weeks ago now, yeah, my sister calls me and says, Gil's got about 2 or 3 months to live. It's in hospice. At home. His own home, hospice coming in. So, okay, I got to get there as soon as I can. I haven't seen him in face-to-face for 26 years. It's a long story, but at any rate. So I tried to arrange the first week, the moment I heard it, but all the kids were out of town. They all wanted to see me. I have 3 nephews, and my brother has 10 grandchildren. The first great-grandchild on the way. I was not so prolific. Anyway, didn't happen. So went the next week, got there Thursday night, went to his place Friday morning. only to find the hospice nurse saying he's entered the final stages. I was happy I was delayed, and I was also happy I got there, because I got to sit with him for about an hour. Once you realized this was the end. It was days at most, like more likely hours. And I just got to sit with him alone. He cognized me, but he was too weak, couldn't speak. Tried to hug me, couldn't do it. So we embraced for a while, just sat by his bed. In the meantime, his wife had sent out the message, "You better get here. This is the end." All his sons, almost all of his grandchildren, his wife's sons, because he remarried, and just started getting near the end. His breath was very shallow. It's just not responsive at all. And, I think this is all the sunset. I think everybody better say their last goodbyes, which they did. And then around his bed was his wife and two sons were on one side. His older son and I were on the other, and just sat there with him until he was gone. It was quite a break for me to have such a focus on that. All my work got put aside, my classes were canceled and everything. I could devote myself to this. And here's a devout Christian. He, Jesus was waiting for him on the other side. He just, matter of fact, the last time I talked to him, he said, "It's okay. I'm going home to see the Lord. It's just my kids, my wife, and the like." And I said, "Am I going to say, no? You're going to be back, right?" And yes, you're going home. You're going back to the. Did I freeze? Yeah, hold on one second. Furry animal to you. But it gave me a nice space. I saw my nephews, who I also have not seen for 26 years. Met all but one now. All but one of my brother's grandchildren. They all wanted to hear about Uncle Greg. Because I was known for not being the regular guy. So that was, it was a very rich experience, actually. Because I have no fear of death. I know what happens. In fact, we've all experienced it, not just the death of the body, but deaths happen all the time, right? The 10-year-old dies to give birth to the 11-year-old. It is the cloud never dies. The beautiful writing of Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah. There is no birth and there is no death. Yeah. It's so clear to me, just kind of watching the body fade and the invisible, which is still there. It's just like we had a hard time accepting this body. Kids, it's so funny when you see kids, they can't get their head. A little child, you'll notice them, they see this, right? And they don't know what it is. But eventually you kind of learn, I can make it move and stuff like that. We then get so identified with the body that at the other side, we don't want to let it go. We're kind of holding on to it. But he was ready to let it go. He just really wanted that time with his family. That was his ambition in life. He didn't have the big rock star ambitions like his younger brother. He just, that's what he wanted. It's quite sweet, really. But you can see that there is no death. It doesn't exist. It's an idea, a concept. And when I'm identified with the body, I'm afraid of death. That is, what happens on the other side? Nothing. Exactly what happens every moment. There's an awareness that I'm not dead. The body's gone. This thing we were so invested in, called our life, has begun to just kind of fade like a memory. There's just this vastness, openness. Body's gone. Problems are all gone. There's just peace, emptiness, and the sense of being. If you're not prepared through this sadhana, the Maya, the impulse to identify, will be there. And there could actually be some fear that arises because there's nothing to identify with. Now, if you're clear during the sadhana, there's an opportunity there for you to completely let go and be pure awareness. But if not yet, and we're all here talking because it wasn't, then eventually a whole new life is going to emerge, more identification that will serve the purpose of, like, what do we call it? Clearing the accounts. Those places where we've still been identified can be brought to the surface, and every time it gets more and deeper, and you have all earned the human birth and are ready to step out of it. So anyway, Jill likes it when we ramble, and she's claiming that everybody else does too, and I'm rambling, but today's a rambling day. Yeah. And thank you for your condolences, Elaine and David. Yeah. Scott, I feel a progression of sorts toward a non-dual realization. Logically, step one was where it made sense, but there's no experience. Then there's an assumed experience of a watcher. Then I realized when Muji asked to investigate the watcher, it shifted from a noun to a verb, meaning awareness watching. No separate watcher noun. Kind of feels like object experiences coming into nothing. Yes, very good, very good. Yeah. Let me dispense with that first sentence first. I feel a progression of sorts toward a non-dual realization. Question mark. Good. So it's on. Like, do I? Well, always. It's our destiny. Okay. Everything you've ever experienced in your life has been a progression towards that. But let's get it out of the realm of conceptual. You can use the concepts, right? But everybody, just consider this. You know that you are. Right? You exist. Aware of being aware, right? No big deal. Right? Just takes a moment to, yes, I am aware that I am. I exist and I know it. Right? Now, how do you know that? I know my own existence. That's not me looking at, the wall behind me, the picture of Buddha, or the moons, or Neptune. I'm sorry, Saturn that was here a few minutes earlier. That's a subject-object knowing. I know it. I perceive it. But the sense of being. You're not perceiving. You're knowing. You can't look and say, there's being. It's like, that is non-dual realization. That is a non-dual recognition. It is not one thing recognizing another. It's me recognizing me. My existence, that which exists, is recognizing its own existence. That is the essence of non-dual realization. In that recognition, you see all of the places where the sense of I has identified with that which is being perceived externally and not with the invisible, undetectable sense of being. I am, and I know I am. So the I amness itself is knowing its own I amness. Satchidananda, being, consciousness. I exist, I know I exist, and that is the bliss. As that knowing begins to kind of jettison and dissolve all of the places where the I am the body has identified with form, and you recognize, as you went on to say, there's an assumed experience of a watcher. Investigate the watcher, shifted from a noun to a verb. Yes, you're aware of awareness, and you're aware of the objects as well. And what happens is that the sense of me awareness, being aware of something out there, becomes I'm aware of me. The undetectable, infinite, boundless emptiness that appears to be nothing, it's just not a thing, and the things are one. That the universe is simply the self knowing itself. And that knowingness creates the appearance of all of this. And it's an illusion when we think that it exists independently of me who's perceiving it. That's the illusion. It doesn't. It's me. And so we're engaged in the process of deconstructing, you might say, the sense of I as a person, as a form. Because the only thing that knows, that perceives, that hears, all of the senses are all reporting to something that's cognizing it. That is not the person. That is the self. Right now, the cognizing you are experiencing, me in this, and I don't know where the white thing is coming from. It's heavily backlit, yeah. Everything your senses are detecting, the knower of those is the self. And we're gradually coming back to the pure, unmixed self. And we do that first by recognizing I am not what I perceive. It's very simple. If I can perceive it, it isn't me, obviously, right? This, that's a subject-object relationship. So the thing seen cannot be the seer of it. What I'm seeing, right? I am not that which I am seeing. Yet I know I am. So what is it that I'm actually seeing? That is, we can then go to the step you got to, that there's a watching, but no personal watcher. Yet watching is happening. There's cognition taking place. Some people say it's only the watching. They'll try to use the verb to try to get rid of the personal sense of somebody watching. But watching requires a watcher. Now, This is the problem with language, because then we think the watcher is the person, the body, right? But that, until you come to see that that too is being seen, the watcher is perceivable, it's subtle, right? Because you're now seeing the watching. Even the watching. Now, what is seeing that? And as Mooji would say, can you bear your own emptiness? Can you bear what appears to be nothingness? That is, formless. I am, but I am nothing. I don't exist in time. I don't exist in space. Both of those are perceived by me. So what you're experiencing here is a gradual, gentle movement out of personhood, identification with form, into pure awareness, where even seeing is seen. Again, there's no words for this, right? We run out of words because it's not within the wheelhouse of the mind and concepts and description of objects. It's a different world altogether. This is Vedanta. This is the realm of the non-dual. I am imperceivable. I am the great mystery. You are the great mystery. You cannot be known. Right? And it's unfortunate we have to have the same word, right? For knowing, right? It would apply to, I know this object, I know that, I know my car, I know the cat, right? But this knowing is not one thing knowing another. It is the knowingness itself knowing itself. And so being and knowing are one. And everything that emerges out of it, there's not something that is being perceived. Perception itself is the self. That what is being perceived is not something there perceived here. It is emerging from the ultimate absolute perceiver, which is the self. Call it the self. Buddha would say no self, because the self tends to make us think of a form, a person. So it's a self, but it's no self. It's not a self. It is the selfness of everything. Everything that appears, has any form, shape, or anything, is borrowing, reflecting the selfness of that which actually is. Like the moon, talk about moonlight, the moon doesn't have any light. It's reflecting the light of the sun. Everything here is reflecting the light of pure awareness. All of it. But not as an object reflecting it. The light itself is forming the object. Oh boy, I could go on this one forever. But I don't want to lose anybody. Coming into nothing. Yes. Nothing perceivable. Yet it's the only thing that is actually a something. All of this is nothing. I could say that. What is that nothing? Well, it has no existence independent from the consciousness in which it's appearing. There's no self in it. It reflects the self. Do you follow that? It's subtle, but boy, it'll just open you up. It's all empty. Emptiness is the nature of all things. Megan celebrating Saturn. Let's see. Let's see. Thank you for your answer about the shadow. I needed to hear that. Thank you, David and Elaine, for your question. And Much love and kisses to the cat. He has, I tell you, he was the most skittish of all. And when I give him the scraps of food, I have to, you know, his cohort, Neptune, is just, he's really aggressive. And the dog, of course. So when I need to, like, when I give him a little snack or something, I have to distract the others, because he'll sit and look at it for a bit, touch it, play with it, and then finally kind of scoop it off for himself. And if he does that and he doesn't rub, he loses. So I've kind of given him special stuff. He's not skittish around me anymore, which is, I like that. Because if the cats like you, you're worth liking. Nay, hey G, first of all, sending you lots of love and hugs. I don't really have a question, just more seeking advice about what I've been experiencing, and it's a mixture of self-inquiry and emotional healing. Oh, that is music to my ears, because that's why I do both. To be able to get folks through enough emotional healing that they can now begin to probe more deeply into who am I? I'm not my conditioning, and I'm not the character conditioning created. Then who am I? Now, that question could take root. It can get some traction. Okay. I've noticed recently a lot of patterns of avoidance. Good. And to distract from feeling grief. Good. Do you also notice how you want to criticize yourself for the pattern of avoidance and distraction? This is perfectly natural. Because we don't want to, who wants to feel pain? Nobody signs up for that, right? We've just been trying to ease our suffering in the wrong way and end up creating more of it. So you're here, step into the role of the peacemaker, right? That which is not just watching, not taking sides, a real pure, impartial witness. And there are patterns of avoidance which you are aware of, and distraction which you're aware of, which wasn't that long ago you weren't, right? And you can see that there's some grief there, right? Now, I want you to just stop there. Matter of fact, I want you to back up to avoidance and distraction. Right? And now, set your mind aside, which immediately jumped on, I'm trying to not feel grief. Maybe. It's avoiding, distracting from something. Now, if we were just doing strict emotional healing, I would focus on something like grief and see where it opened up to, because there's more there. But when you start looking at it from non-dual reality and the sense of identity, what it's really avoiding is seeing the false sense of identity. You see, it's still there even as we're emotionally healing. And so there's grief or something, right? You can feel how we don't want to feel it. That's fine, right? But there's still a sense of either that doesn't want to feel it, right? Now, notice that. Because with that there, we're continuing to perpetuate the thing we're emotionally healing from. So what's always underneath it, which is mistaken in the beginning, and it's why I have to focus on emotional healing as emotional healing, because it's not ready to hear this, but what it's really avoiding is recognizing the false sense of identity, that it's not you. The energy is trying to maintain a shape, a form. And you get healing, or you get some good non-dual ideas or spiritual practice, it now wants to become somebody who's emotionally healing and emotionally healed of stuff, and I'm spiritual, right? And got the man bun and the hang drum. I'm going to drum circles, and I own my own yoga mat. It's an identity. Nothing wrong with any of those things. I love drum circles, but I was a drummer, right? But notice how identity wants to form around it. And as you deepen on this path, which you are, you can become aware that it's not just the 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 the, the particular pain we think we're avoiding. The real avoidance is this deeper impulse to identify, to become a form, a shape, right? And that's the real culprit underneath. So, yes, you had a whole life of abuse. Not a whole lot, right? It's a lot of it, most of it, but you're coming out of it, right? Even the spiritual teacher you had, was just a reincarnation of mother, basically, right? Who then took advantage of you, demeaned you, tried to keep you down. But your sincerity and your earnestness brought you to the true teaching. And real methods, real concrete tools for removing all of the influence of the suffering and abuse. Because it's the worst. You suffered the worst. The people who are supposed to keep you safe as a child, because you're totally powerless, abused it. They didn't do that. They did exactly the opposite. Now, this paired with being aware of the truth of me, I am, has left me with a lot of time on my hands. Yeah, isn't it great when you don't have to work so damn much on yourself, and you find that grace is working all of this for you. Anyway, there's also some relief because the pressure from that identified self isn't actually me. Yes. That's the real energy, the real power that is bringing about emotional healing. Often say I'm slipping non-dual self-inquiry in the back door where people aren't noticing it. More accurately, I am preparing them for it. So you're going, with suffering now being a choice, abuse from the old environment no longer happening, autonomy being alien, it's triggered a lot of self-abandonment behaviors. It's almost like there's a part of me that misses the chaos. Yes, suffering, time spent performing for approval, love, etc., because it's all it's known. That's the identity, isn't it? It's like there's a part of me that is the identity that you did not see as an identity. You inhabited as if it was you, and therefore gave it life. Now, you're seeing that it isn't. But that process of seeing it is kind of like, setting off fire alarms in the whole system, which has been functioning as if you were that person. And now you're going right to the center of how the whole nervous system organized itself, and you're pulling it out. And it's going to feel like, who am I if I'm not suffering? And I've watched it in students get really, really clear. Their life will begin to flow, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm a victim, and all this stuff just starts coming out of nowhere. And sometimes, with most, I'm able to bring them back. We look at it, make some progress, and it's easier the next time it happens, because it's going to happen. It's just, Muji used to call them mind attacks, right? They're just the reaction to the exposure of the ego, which has been hell-bent on keeping everything unseen. It's hiding in the shadows and becoming somebody, and then getting approval, and so that it can occupy itself trying to get approval and never turn around and look at what's actually there. Why is that even there? What happened that I got so engaged in trying to make all this stuff happen. And not just one approval and approval, but celebrity and wealth, perfect relationship, perfect body, all of these things. And so the abandonment behaviors are also part of it. So just keep stepping back. Just keep stepping back. Yes, and I love the fact that you said that it's almost like there's a part of me, the sense of identity that has remained still hiding behind your eyeballs. But you're not. I don't know. You're not. I miss the chaos. I miss the suffering. I miss not being able to perform. Hope to get love and approval and all of that. I refer to it as it. All right. Now, it's not a problem. Only when you don't see it is it a problem. So what I want you to do now is to not try to fix it. You've grown a maturity enough that you don't have to get right at work. We're gonna, all right? Use this. If you're going to use tapping, use it simply as a way to allow yourself to do nothing about it. The seeing itself is the presence of love and truth, and its presence is what has pulled it out of the shadows so you can see it. Right? But as you're nearing more nuanced, refined, less emotional healing as a technique, and more self-awareness, right, the need to fix it, right, address it as a specific symptom, gets less and less. The seeing itself, right, is enough, because without identification, no matter how loud it is, it can't survive. It needs your attention and your agreement. And while emotional healing is wonderful and if there's no knowledge of something beyond, something transcendent, right, all you're going to do is create another identity that feels better. But that emotional freedom that happens, where more of me is being expressed, I'm not reacting in the same way. Now it's just the seeing of it itself is all that's needed, because you're becoming adept at not identifying with it, because that's always going to be what it is. At the root, it is trying to oh, candles are getting a bit strong. I'm going to put them out. At the root of it is always the identification. It's not the actual symptoms themselves. And even engaging in emotional healing is giving it a reality it doesn't actually have. It's good. It's a step. We have to go through that. But then you get to the point where, wait a minute, it's not me. It really isn't me. At this juncture, there's this feeling then that, well, it should be gone then, right? Anything to bring you into a relationship with it, either completely identified with it or identified with trying to get rid of it, right? Identified with, oh, it's still here, I must not be awake. No, it's not true. It will be here as long as it's here. And all we do is just keep disidentifying with it. It's not me. I am the pure witness of it. And therefore, it is not me. It is not referring to me. When it says I, it's referring to a thought of I and not to me, the actual I that's seeing it. Because the thought is not sentient. It can't see anything. Your hand can't see you. You see the hand. This is the deep cognizance that is consciousness. It knows it isn't coming back and feels stuck and doesn't know what to do. That's all part of it. Notice it's just trying to pull you into a to some kind of relationship with this, what's appearing, right? Whether that be complete blindly going along with it, or thinking it's something I've got to deal with. It's at one stage, it's yes, we deal with it as, but where you're getting to now, it's like I don't have to do anything with it. It's just a movement in consciousness. I didn't create it. I don't have to be responsible for it. I just don't indulge it. I don't hate it. I don't fight it. I am. And I just let it be there. And my kind of loving indifference is what eventually just, there's nothing left to sustain it. And then what happens is the deeper, more subtle levels begin to appear. But, and at first you might be, oh God, stop, hold on, time out. It's appearing. I'm looking at it. There's no difference. If I can see it, it's not me. When I don't see it, I think it's me. But this process is one in which you're becoming more and more and more embodied the fact I am, full stop. I am not what I perceive, and I am not perceivable. So if I can see it, it's not me. I form no relationship with it whatsoever. I don't have to get rid of it, take responsibility for it, take blame for it, nothing. It's just here. Everything is just happening, and I am the compassionate, loving, and dispassionate witness of it. Until finally you see that, oh, I'm even the witness of the witnessing. I'm the witness of I am. I am beyond, beyond the beyond. From the Heart Sutra, the mantra, gate gate, pada gate, pada samgate, bodhisvaha, which means gone, gone, gone beyond, gone totally beyond. Bodhisvaha, hallelujah, enlightenment. But also knowing I am, it's like that stuff doesn't really matter, yes. And now, for a while, you'll see it doesn't really matter, but you'll see how all the ways in which we're being pulled into making it matter, which is really being pulled into some identity to form a relationship with it, not because it wants the relationship, but because it wants to assert I am somebody. Okay? So, yeah, beautiful. This is so beautiful because I know that I am. Immediately goes, well, if you were that, then, all this wouldn't be happening. Bullshit. That's what the devil said to Christ. If you're the Son of God, come on, prove it. Look at all this stuff here. Yeah, come on, rocks. Come on, miracle man. Change him into stones. You're going to do wine. You're going to make wine out of water. I'm like, do it. Do it. Come on. All an attempt for Christ to form a personal sense of self that had some power. Until finally the devil said, okay, just bow down and worship me. No, he was too smart to do that. In other words, make a sense of self of, look, oh, I know this now. I have all this wisdom. All the great things I could do. And the devil would say, well, yeah, and you could have some money. You could have some money, a nice car, and things like that. Sure, because you got all this wisdom. Form a self. Form a self. Same thing with the Buddha. That is enlightenment. And Mara was there going, who do you think you are? You can't do this. But you're a wise guy now. Very smart. You really, you've seen so much. Oh, it's amazing. Now go back and be a king like your dad wanted and take care of people and do all that. And he said, sorry, Mara. Just reached down and touched the earth. And Mara, the Hindu devil, and our Christian devil, what was the last thing they said? I'll be back. So don't, yeah, don't judge your progress by stuff coming up. Oh, I must not. You do. It's coming up because you are deepening into that sense. I am the self. Period. Even when you say it, you know, all the reasons why not. You feel, okay. That's all it is. Don't worry about it. Eventually, that sense of I am the self will merge, and it won't be just like kind of knowing, it will be being. Even the words I am the self are superfluous. What else? That's why Ramana would go hours and not say a word. Just presence. What's to say? What is there to say? And people would just have extraordinary awakenings sitting with him while he's just sitting there. Maybe I should take a hint from him and not talk so damn much. What do you think? Loving sister, 3112. I think your loving sister 1 is probably better. Yeah. Isabel. Oh, lovely Isabel. Yay. T-Perk. Boy, I've seen a few names I haven't seen before. UCLA? Oh, yeah, is that what it is? Yeah. If everything is just there, being all the time, truly unseparate, why does it matter that we stay alive? What prevents us from partaking in suicidal thoughts if I'll always be here anyway? How is the non-dual perspective not nihilistic in this way? That's a great question. Boy, Buddha got it all the time. Right? And you're looking at non-dual perspective as if it was a perspective, one among many. Right? It is a wholesale different context. It is not based on the subject-object relationship, which is how minds work, discursive thinking works, science works, and within that realm, amazing, absolutely amazing. But there's a difference between having the idea of everything is just here all the time, unseparate, and seeing it as an actual fact. Now, if you're going to see everything as one, you can't do that from a subject-object perspective, because whatever I'm looking at is not me. That's the nature of this. How do I make that me? From that perception that you're describing, right, you can't. It would become nihilistic. It would become solipsism. Why does it matter that you stay alive? Well, if you look at it from the perspective of the dualistic view, the subject-object relationship, stepping back and looking at this whole picture, it doesn't matter, does it? Does the universe care? How many living creatures have come and gone on the earth? Innumerable. How many entire species of critters have gone extinct? If you look at it from that perspective, you go, nothing matters. It's irrelevant. The sun itself is going to burn out in this earth, and all of its history gone. The entire solar system gone. Because from that perspective, nothing has meaning. This is one of the side effects of the scientific method. It robs everything of anima. There's no animation, there's no soul, there's no beingness at all. It is just functioning, which means even the sense of self is an illusion. It doesn't exist. There is no self. There is no nothing. That's the ultimate nihilism. Religion tries to posit the existence of a soul, something that actually is alive, right? But it doesn't stand up to scrutiny for the very same reason. You have to just believe it, but when it's looked at, you go, is there any evidence for a personal soul? So now the non-dual perspective is, okay, I know that I exist. It's an intuitive, spontaneous, unsought sense. And it's not a belief, nor is it dualistic. Because I can't step outside of myself to verify my existence. So it is not one thing knowing another. It is me knowing me. That's non-dual. Now, that way of knowing is not the way we normally think, the world thinks. And trying to understand the non-dual perspective from within that context, you will end up seeing exactly what you're seeing. You know, nothing matters. Why stay alive? Why don't we just commit suicide? Right? I'll always be here anyway. Right? Well, the model you're using to come to that conclusion would say, no, you're not going to be here anyway. This is it. This is all you got. So if you want it to mean something, you're going to have to make it mean something. Right? There's just the natural animal instincts of bonding with others and community and that sort of thing. Right? That's about it. That's all you got, but that's all going to go away. Right? I never even knew my grandfathers. When I was very young with my grandmother, gone. What is it? Nothing. Okay, so if you can take the time to look and see that, yes, my knowing of myself is not a belief, and it is not a dualistic perception. It is a non-dual perception. It's me knowing me directly. Not because I see myself in a mirror, because it doesn't prove anything, but because I know that I am. Now that's significant, because when you look around, even science, right, which is the highest our intellect has attained out so far, nothing exists. None of this actually exists. These are all appearances, you know. Pictures behind me, the moon and stuff. What happens? Take it and burn it up. Where's the moon? It's gone. It has no concrete existence. What we perceive at this level of perception is actually just the activity of something at a lower level that we can't see. But you know, our minds and the like, oh, an object. This becomes an object in the mind, and now it's a thing, but it's not a thing. You know, this is made up of atoms, molecules, and subatomic, going all the way down to quantum, in which matter doesn't exist at all. Nothing exists there. Even it was Niels Bohr who said, I'm talking about, one of the founders of quantum mechanics, said, what we call real is made of that which cannot be regarded as real. Now, what do you do with that? What they leave out, which the advaita, the non-dual thread, picks up, is, I know I am consciousness. Science, I call it the great problem of science, because it cannot explain self-awareness. No matter what the machine would be like, how do you get self-awareness? That which knows it is, an actual sense of self-cognizing. And so I look now at the one thing I know for sure, and that is, I am. I know that. It is. There's something that is, they will argue that is the product of all of this other stuff. Now that's a contradiction, because the only reason we think about other stuff is because of the consciousness. So which was here first? And many, many scientists are going, consciousness was here first. Consciousness is the irreducible, not a quantum field, but consciousness is the irreducible, indivisible substance of everything. If that's the case, then knowing reality means knowing consciousness. In Buddhism, they would say, how did he put it? How did he put it? The study of the self. Oh shit! If anybody can remind me of what that line is, But you can then, from that perspective, see that everything you think is based on that subject-object model. Okay, my sense of self is based on that subject-object model, but I am not a subject-object. I am the subject and the object simultaneously. I have to see myself differently. I have a completely different approach to self-knowledge because I cannot look at myself as an object. I'm not two. Which means it requires a completely different way of approaching knowing who or what I am and what is real. And that way of approaching it is what is called Advaita Vedanta. It is the study of the self with not as subject-object, but as subject and object being one. I hope that answers it for you. In the meantime, what means something to you? Why does it matter to you to stay alive? Because that's all you will have. Why? We're all going to end up dead anyway. What's the point? Well, none externally. Nobody's putting one on you. You just get to decide for yourself. That's kind of cool, actually, isn't it? I mean, that's actually pretty amazing that, nobody's telling me what's supposed to matter to me. I can just ask me what matters. That's getting dangerously close to non-dual inquiry. What do I care about? Not what I was told, not what it was laid on me, not the culture, but what matters to me? That's pretty powerful. Yeah. So take it up. Take it up. And thank you, T. Perk. Wonderful. Thank you, G, for your response to shadow work. Oh, Elaine, David, thank you. It is proving a fascinating process here. At first, mine seemed to provide a cause, because that further unfoldment reveals an utterly impersonal, energetic, yes, that comes in the guise of one's own story or even generational trauma. Very loud, there is no because emerges at present that doesn't negate exploration in one's personal conditioning, of course. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got it. It's like, it's weird, but it's like we recognize this whole thing as a dream, a complete invention, a concoction in the mind. Yet at the same time, knowing that, we willingly participate in the process, the practice, the sadhana. This is the nature of it. Seeing that I am the I am this story has to still fulfill itself, even though it's not my story anymore. It's just a series of events that are happening. I'm going to be participating in it as if it was mine, as if it is, as if it was important that I do this. Take up the practices, perform them, and then just keep asking, well, who's doing that? Who's meditating? There's no person meditating. This is simply the story. This is God's story. And now the main character is seen as just a main character made up by God. And so you embrace your ordinary humanness. You embrace the whole of it. Yeah, traumatic experiences. I got really fucked up. That I got. And it now becomes not so burdensome. It's even engaging. And years ago, I said to somebody, he said, so I listen to your stories, even with interest, but not for 1 minute do I regard them as real. Okay. Godwin's name. Hello, nice heart, thank you. Does he see YouTube comments? Yes, it just takes me a little time. Yeah, as you can see. Hello, Sylvia from Spain. I don't miss suffering, but when I'm happy, I tend to think I don't deserve it, or I should be able to accept suffering. Yeah, we have to accept life as it is. Suffering means I don't like life the way it is. That's all. That's all there is to it. It is a stance towards life. Right? I didn't like the fact that all of a sudden now I can't use a microphone on my computer without a separate device. I didn't like that. But if I got really upset, oh, what am I going to do? It's tiring. Now I'm suffering. For what? I couldn't do anything about it. But the sense that this is all happening, right? It's not happening to me, it's just a happening. As that sinks in, there's less and less attachment to things going in a certain way. Yeah, I want them to go in that way. When they don't, you don't have to suffer over it. Now, remember, the identity that built up around the suffering, the sense of the sufferer, is a very quiet and influence that has tentacles everywhere. So when you find yourself spontaneously happy, the thought will be there, you don't deserve it. Or, you know what, if you get too happy, you won't be alert, and you won't, and you won't catch the thing that's going to happen. You'll get blindsided. All sorts of reasons why you shouldn't be experiencing your natural state of happiness, contentment. That is our natural state. Happiness and contentment, the personal sense of self, cannot experience. It's born in sin. It is false. It has nothing of its own. It's got to get it from other places. So it lives in constant fear. Ways of suppressing that fear, and temporarily getting things to kind of slap a happy face on it, right? But just look at it right in the face. Well, I don't deserve it. Well, if happiness is what I am, it's my nature, then no, I don't deserve it because I didn't have to earn it. Yeah, I did nothing to earn being the self. I just am. I don't have to earn it. So yeah, okay, fine, I don't deserve it. And I'm happy. I don't deserve to be happy, but I am. Isn't that something? This is the deeper meaning of the teachings of Christ about, and the original sin and that sort of stuff, saying you're born in sin. Yes, the ego is born in sin. It's a mistake. It's not who you are. It has got nothing of substance to it. Your real nature is simply happiness. Did you earn it? Did you create it? No, you just are. And as the layers peel away, more of the false sense of self is dissolved, there'll just be spontaneous happiness, spontaneous patience. You won't be reacting to things the way you used. It used to be common to react. Everything will become equanimous, just peaceful. There'll still be experiences, right? They'll come and think, God damn it, I don't like that. Or, oh, that was just ecstatic. was orgasmic. What a wonderful experience. But you recognize that all experiences come and go. None of them are you. They're being experienced by you, but none of them are you. You can't be experienced because you're not an experience. You just are. Not a happening, has no origin, has no end. How's that answer it for you, Sylvia? Let's see what else we got here. Did I miss anybody? Oh, I missed Isabel. The vastness that is seen by the mind is not the self. The vastness in which the mind is seen, that is the self. And even vastness, our mind's going to create a picture of vastness, isn't it? Right? But the self, yourself, doesn't occupy space. Space arises out of it. Which is you can't conceive it, can you? Anything that is must be something somewhere. The self is nowhere. Or you could say everywhere. But space, dimensions, time, beginnings and endings, it has nothing to do. You have nothing to do with that. That is not what you are. That which is gives rise to absolutely everything else. Space only exists because objects arise. But the objects themselves are not entities. They're not self-existent. They arise as a temporary form, dancing, and then poof, Shiva's wheel. Thank you, Isabel. Love hearing you talk, Chi. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for the AMS. The answer? It makes a lot. Oh, AMS. The answer. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. You have to remember that in this phase of your sadhana, it's not a specific problem you have. It's always the sense of identity trying to reestablish itself. It's Maya trying to grab on and get you to identify with a form. That's what it is, always, at this phase. Earlier on, it can be more about emotional healing and like, but once you begin to get some space there, and you're ready for it, this kind of conversation begins to take place. And you find yourself drawn to it. First, you may not even know why, but you can't unring that bell. Many times you go, God, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. And you turn around and it's like, there's no way back. You've been hooked. God's got you. Now it's over. All right, loves. I'm going to end it for today. And this was really nice. Really good to be present with you all. And hey, last week I only got to like 9 people. It's like very strange. YouTube and its algorithms. I used to have like over 100. Then it like dropped in one day. They changed the algorithm. Now it's 4. Then it was 40, and now it's like been 20 and the like. So I must have said something they didn't like. Oops. Oops. Oh. All right, everybody. Yeah. I do have a sangha that a chat group with that I answer questions in, but also do weekly meetings on Zoom where I can see you and we can work and we can dive into this more deeply. So it is available for anyone who wants to partake, as well as the most effective emotional healing process I've seen to date. And I hear it from others, not just from me. If I'm a witness of myself, my witness is not true. That out of the Bible, but it's just very effective and gentle. And so there's a whole track to help you get all the way home and not get stalled somewhere along the line. All right, all my loves. Until next time. Namaste.